actually hear four buzzwords there. You've got your data, big data, you've got sustainability, and you've got CDPs. I mean, these are buzzwords of past and present, right? I think in the past, we heard a lot about big data. The present day, we hear CDP, sustainability. But I think the evergreen here is data. I think all the businesses are beginning to realize or have already realized that data is going to be the key to how they power their businesses.
Hello, and welcome to Martechvibe Dialogues, where we speak with domain experts and thought leaders. Today, we're speaking with Patrick Sim, who's a Senior Vice President, APAC MEA at Epsilon. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. My first question to you is the transition from big data to sustainability data necessary for CDPs?
Well, Ravi, I actually hear four buzzwords there. You've got your data, big data, you've got sustainability, and you've got CDPs. I mean, these are buzzwords of past and present, right? I think in the past, we heard a lot about big data. The present day, we hear CDP, sustainability. But I think the evergreen here is data. I think all the businesses are beginning to realize or have already realized that data is going to be the key to how they power their businesses. Personally, I think I think whether it's big data or small data, I think relevant data is the most important. And let's be real, there's a cost to getting that data. Not just storage cost, but you're thinking about the cost of acquisition of data. You need to have this value exchange when you are getting data from your customers, right? So I think, again, my answer would be, take what's right, only what's right, so that you can make use of data. I'll give you an example. Actually, years back, there was this American company, they had a loyalty program. And for a customer to sign up for a loyalty program, you have to answer 89 questions. 89 questions. That's okay if you make use of the data that comes that people gave you, but no, none of them was used. So that's my point, right? You can ask a lot of questions. At some point, you will lose your customer, and nobody else will give you data anymore. So, well, yeah. So I think back to your question, find the right data that's relevant to your business, and then get started. That's the other thing that a lot of businesses don't do.
Great, that's a great answer, and I'm glad that they stopped at 89 and didn't go to 90. But tell me, how can companies encourage an organizational shift towards making more data-driven decisions? Right. And how do they measure performance across teams?
Right. So I think from what I've observed, right, I've spoken to many brands, many companies. Those who do it really well typically start from the top. So the CEO, the COO adopts that stance and basically it becomes a culture for the company. And when everybody embraces, right, the need for data, things just get moving. And when it comes to, I think, embracing data, it's about how, for example, one of the companies that I've spoken to, they actually said if our decisions are not made based on data, we don't make it. Right? I've got another CPG company who said that anything we do on marketing has to have data. Either we collect it or we make use of it. If it's not, then it's not worth doing. So I think these type of cultures very, very strong, and it permeates through the entire organization, and that's how the company becomes data-driven. I'll give you another example. I've had a client who in the Philippines, manufacturing air conditioners. And the CEO actually was very, very much interested in marketing technology, and basically said, hey, he wants to transform the company from being an air conditioning manufacturer to selling aircon as a service. How cool is that? No, sorry for the pun. Yeah. So, but I mean, see what I mean? The CEO embraces the change in a company, transformation for the company, and then everybody starts to do the same and feel the same.
So do you really see that the data culture should come from the top? Is that
I've seen,
essentially?
Yeah, a lot of times if it's driven from the middle tier or the bottom tier, it takes a longer time. And they would then have to convince their bosses to do the same. But a lot of times when I see it comes from the top, things just move a lot faster.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Your second question about, you asked me also about measurement, right?
Yes.
Again, if you make use of data, the beauty of data is that all things can be measured. if you cannot measure it, don't do it. I would say the same. So, for example, the salespeople, they obviously have to be measured by the revenue or the sales that they bring in. The marketing folks has to be driven by incremental revenue that they bring into the business. The services, the customer services folk, maybe it's a net promoter score, maybe it's a upsell or cross-sell that they can drive. At the end of the day, I think if you all measure it down to a revenue, it just drives everybody forward, drives the business forward.
Makes sense. And since we are talking about data and measurement, obviously CDP is core and central to it. So tell us, how can and how should businesses look at when they're selecting or choosing a CDP?
Right. Well, if I'm honest, right, the CDP market, it's a very confused one. I think, just as said, last year alone, there was a measurement like there are 150 CDP vendors out there, and the market is worth $1.5 billion. Now, everybody and their friend is selling a CDP today. And because of that, the marketers are being confused by the amount and the sheer amount of information that they're getting. So I would recommend, well, the way I see it is that a CDP Institute actually has categorized all the CDPs in the market into 4. The first is data. The type of CDP, the data type of CDP actually just talks about absorbing all the data from different sources and then kind of shuffle them a little bit and get them organized. So that's the first type of CDP. Now, a little bit more advanced than that, the second type is the analytical type of CDP, where then there's some technology behind there to drive the analytics of it and then try and make some sense out of the data that comes. Now, the third type is where, most CDPs fall into the first type and the second type. The third type is where a lot of CDPs then falter, and that's the campaign part of CDPs, where you have achieved those insights, then you need to action on it, right? That means creating a campaign out of that. How do you organize that into whether it's an email marketing campaign or is it a media campaign and so on? Now, the fourth type is where you then the delivery of these campaigns, and again, a lot of CDPs in the market claim that they can do such, but only a handful actually can do it. So these are the 4 categories. So I would advise actually to companies or brands who's looking to buy a CDP to really understand what you want out of the CDP, and then pick the right one for your business. Sometimes you might not need the most expensive or the best one in market. I think pick what's yours and then progress from there. Underlying that, actually, a lot of times missed is the issue of identity. Now, if you can imagine, on average, there was a study that people on average have got 4 email addresses. I don't know how many you have. How many do you have?
I have 3.
You have 3. I have 6 email addresses. Well, occupational hazard, right? So, but 6 email addresses doesn't mean, in the eyes of a system, you look like you're 6 people, 6 different Patricks. But that's not the truth. The reality is that I'm only one. So the problem of identity, it's very difficult to solve, and not many can solve that. So my advice actually to the brands and businesses looking for a CDP is actually to really understand what you're looking for, what objectives you're looking to achieve, understand what's a good fit for you, and don't forget to resolve the identity problem. Ask questions about how your CDP vendor is going to help you resolve the identity issue.
Those were great insights, and thank you so much for sharing them. And thank you so much for joining us.